So, hello everybody. Welcome to this week's episode of Sunday Speaks. As always, I'm Cheyenne Severin, and today I'm here with Kip Rishton.
Kip Rishton, yes.
Nice. So, this episode is coming in at a very busy time. Memorial Day is tomorrow, and Pride Month is coming up in a few days. I think Thursday is going to be the first day. So, wow, that's convenient. I'm actually speaking to talk about me for a split second here because I just realized something funny. I'm talking to at a Pride Club event for a local high school on Thursday, and I just realized it's the first day of Pride Month. Perfect timing. Anyway, back to you, Kip. Sorry. um, so do you just want to talk about your involvement in the LGBTQ plus community? Did that affect your recovery story at all, or anything to do with recovery? Anything?
Yeah, it's when I was young, like back in my teenage years, and started realizing that I'm gay. Uh, I was living in Salt Lake City, Utah. I was raised a Mormon boy, and that's just not accepted in Mormon circles. So at a very early age, I started, I think out of shame more than anything, started looking for a way to shut off that shame that I was feeling. And I started drinking and using drugs just to, I don't know, kind of spare myself the pain of being embarrassed of who I am. And of course, it's weird. At least in Utah, there's really no place to meet other gay people than bars, which which was convenient for me. The more that I was drinking, and I started to change the way that I existed in life from being happy and drug and alcohol free to being happy and numb all the time. Uh, my my addictions basically were alcohol, cocaine, and ended up being cocaine and heroin. Um, I started getting into a lot of legal issues too. I wasn't that good at hiding my addiction. I ended up getting arrested frequently. Uh, I by the time it was all said and done, before I got sober, I ended up with 12 convictions, and for someone like me, jail was a vacation. I was going in to jail regularly. I don't know how I didn't end up with a prison number. They sent me one time to the Utah Penitentiary to do like a 90-day eval to see if that's where I'm going to live, and they ended up letting me go. I um I, I just didn't know what to do. I ended up homeless and living on the streets in Salt Lake City. And during the winter, that was an awful place to be because it gets cold and snowy there. And when I finally got sober, I reached the end of my rope. It was in May of 2003. I had made a decision that I'm going to kill myself. So my plan was to go to the library and jump off the roof. Um, the library was where us homeless people hung out the most, and uh, my plan was to go up to the roof and walk out. I was at a computer. I was using a computer in the library. This was before Google,
Mm-hmm.
and looking for ways to get sober that did not involve. I've been sentenced so many times by judges to go to AA, and it just never really worked for me. Um, I think the thing that shoved me off the most about it was the whole God thing, because I was being a gay Mormon boy. God and I weren't really speaking, and So I was sitting there at the library, and I remember searching for ways to get sober, and literally, like all homeless people, I guess, I heard this voice in my head tell me that, those people at AA are sober. And that it really pissed me off because I'd been going to meetings off and on, and I decided, you know what, I'm going to go see if I can figure out what they're doing. I was sure they were lying, and so I left the library and I went about 15 miles south of Salt Lake City to an Alano club there, and went in and started going to going to meetings regularly. Um, I remember going in there suspicious because I didn't believe that those people were sober, and if they were sober, I didn't believe they'd ever been drinking or using. So I started hanging out, and I was looking pretty rough. Um, the old timers there would buy me something to eat. They knew that I needed to detox off the alcohol for sure, painfully off the heroin, and so I moved from this house that I was hiding behind in downtown Salt Lake City to this little grove of trees that were at the side of the Alana Club. So I was living in the trees, and the old guys would come and grab me. They'd take me in and they'd feed me, buy me coffee, and I finally made it through a detox, and started to feel normal. I used to be able to go and stay at my parents every now and then, but by the time that I was getting sober, they had to take out a protective order to keep me away from them because every time I showed up at their house, something came up missing. If I couldn't find cash, I'd take something out. And so I called up my mother and I said, "Look, I'm being sober now, and I just really need someplace where I can shower." And so my parents had a discussion with me. They said, "You can come stay here. If we're out of town, you can't stay here. We're not giving you a key. We don't want you in here when we're not home," which is what I needed that. And I started going to meetings. So that's how I ended up getting sober. It was hard to get a job, with the number of convictions that I'd already had. So I ended up telling, my first job when I got sober was cooking samples in the aisle at Costco. They were the only people that would hire me. Every place else I applied, they did my background, and people would see all those convictions. They'd go, "No, we don't want that guy here." I ended up going to the county, and they agreed that I was unemployable, and they paid for me to go to school. So I ended up in my early sobriety going to college. I ended up getting a master's degree from the University of Utah in social work, and started working at treatment centers because they were the only people that really seemed to understand, how somebody like me could even still be walking around after they saw those convictions. So how I got sober is kind of a two-pronged deal. I mean, the first thing was I was active in AA, and so I started making friends that were sober, which was really helpful because everybody I knew up to that point were also involved in drugs and alcohol really heavily. People would think it was easy to stay sober working at a treatment center, but I'm going to tell you that that's probably the most dangerous place where somebody is early in sobriety could be, because the people that you're dealing with are active users. I didn't really know where. I live in San Diego now, And I kind of suspect I know where they're selling the drugs just because there's a lot of homeless people around here, but I don't know anybody down here that can bring me to the dope house, as it were. I I can tell you that the best thing that I had going for me by going to AA was I started building a support team of people that were sober. Um, I've had a lot of experiences in sobriety where I probably could have used, but every day I get up, I make the commitment that today, just for today, I'm not going to use. I don't ever commit much beyond today because still, even after all these years, I I get overwhelmed when I start thinking, that I'm never going to drink or use again. I mean, while that's my goal today, there's a part of my addicted brain that when I say never, that says, yeah, come on, buddy, let's sit down and have a drink and talk about it. And, so I just for today, if I'm having a rough day, I know that if I'm still feeling horrible, I can use at the end of the day. Because I get up and commit in the morning that I'm not going to use today. But if I'm still feeling this shitty, I'm going to use at midnight. And somehow that, in a sick, twisted way, somehow that's gotten me through sobriety all these years. Uh, I I think it's important when somebody's working on getting sober that you find a support system of people that are supportive of who you are. And being gay in Salt Lake was not okay. Um, I had to find people that not necessarily were gay, but weren't offended by the fact that I was out and loud about it. I got in my addiction. I got really militant, I guess. And if you weren't happy about me being gay, I would be up in your business for a long time. Let me be who I'm going to be. Uh, I am who I am. I used to love to sing that song, but it is who I am. What have I gotten out of getting sober? Is a life that back when I was actively using, I couldn't imagine. I couldn't imagine going a day without drinking or a day without using. I today I can't imagine using. I know I the thing that I got out of AA that's helped me through all of this is that I became very anti-religion, angry about people judging me because I'm gay, and in Mormon circles, the way they do it in Utah, at least with that religion, is they say we don't hate the sinner, we hate the sin. So there's something that inside of my brain when I hear that, it's like, well, the sinner is who I am, and what you're classifying as a sinner doesn't really jive with what I believe. I don't think in AA, they teach you that you get to find a spiritual connection that works for you. So I had to come up with a God that, in my beliefs, wasn't going to be sending me to hell just for being who I am. Whether I was having sex or not didn't matter. I ended up getting my master's degree in social work. So I ended up working in treatment centers and helping addicts all the time. And I think it's key for at least someone like me to find a way that you can help others. Because I learned early in my sobriety that if I'm helping you stay sober, that's keeping me sober. So working at a treatment center again for someone early in sobriety, kind of put me in a really dangerous position because those people all know where the dope man is, and if I hang out with them away from work, I'm putting myself in huge danger. Um, it's interesting that the last time I went to court, this it was a judge that I had. Her name was Judge Judy. That's who what they called her, and they called her in Salt Lake, and she was a hanging judge when it came to somebody like me. So after I got sober, I started sitting on a panel with other people from the University of Utah, and I ended up becoming really good friends with her. And every year, they give you a medallion for each year of being sober when you're in AA. And every year, I'd take my medallion and go down to the courthouse and give it to the judge. And because I was grateful to her for finally the last time she sentenced me. She sentenced me, one more mistake, Kip, you're going to prison. And I didn't want to go to prison. It was all right going to jail. I mean, the longest time I spent in jail, I was actually in there for just under a solid year. The reason I got a whole year was because I kept not showing up to court. So a lot of that was just failure to appear stuff. But going in and helping other people, especially in the jails. Something that probably a lot of you don't know is that when you're gay and in jail or prison, you're kind of a top tier, kind of the VIP in the neighborhood, if you will. They all looked out for me, so it was interesting that my friends in jail, we were all sober, so I started making friends with sober people in jail who were criminals, just like I was. I was a criminal. That's the way I survived. I ended up working at a psychiatric hospital. That's with Nancy, who is does this stuff that you guys are interested in, and I met Nancy, and we ended up becoming really good friends. She was kind of like an angel that I had that looked out for me. I think the two defining moments that worked for me was, first of all, hearing a voice telling me that the reason I wasn't sober is because I didn't go to meetings, and secondly, I was able to meet inspirational people as I was working on my graduate degree in the class where we talked about doing therapy and stuff with people. The other shameful thing I had to really work through is, and the thing that AA teaches you, we have to find a power that's greater than ourselves that we can trust and rely on. I wasn't really open to that. I would tell people, God and I aren't speaking to each other. We just don't agree. And so I would say, yeah, I believe with God, but he's going to be that doorknob across the hall here, because I don't need him following me around and shaming me and yelling at me. And the more I got sober, the less of a struggle it was to stay sober. I started learning about helping others, and that's a big deal still in my life today. I volunteer here in San Diego at the LGBTQ Resource Center in San Diego. So I get to interact with people that are active in addiction, and if I can surmise that they would have a better life if they at least attempt to get sober, I steer them to the same thing that worked for me, going to meetings and volunteering with other people. The good things that have happened in my life is that, when I got sober, I was unemployable and I had no money, and now, I have bills. I'm paying for a car. I pay for my rent. I feel pretty secure that today I'm not going to go to jail. And I don't worry about all that negative stuff. I think a part of my addiction was I was addicted to that negativity, and I've learned that it's okay to be me. It's okay to be gay, and it's not something that I would choose. Uh, I know in Salt Lake, people would always ask me, why do you choose that? It's like, I don't choose this. This is just who I am. Uh, People would say, you should find a really nice girl and settle down and have a family. And I would think about that, and I would think, I suppose I could do that, but the reality is I'd be lying to that person, to that woman, and I'd be creating a life that would make her miserable because I didn't know. I didn't know if I could stay sober and pretend to be straight. Wouldn't it be fair to her if I was dating a girl, and it's certainly not fair to me. I didn't know if I could stay sober and stay faithful. I I learned that I don't have to be somebody that I'm not, and and over time it started taking all that internal pressure that I put on myself, living in fear and panic that I'm going to do something that somebody's going to be pissed off about if I just still show up as me. My mother, when I came out to her, I said, I'm gay, and she said, yeah, I know. And she says, I've known that all your life, Kip. It's just who you are. That took a lot of pressure off me. She told me just be who you are, but treat people right and don't commit crime. They got tired of seeing me every few months on TV. Police are looking for this individual. It's like, but I don't worry about that stuff today. Today I do fun stuff. I do have an addiction that I still feed regularly. I have an annual pass to Disneyland, and I go to Disneyland a lot. When I'm not working here, I work at the Civic Center here in San Diego because that way I can see all the Broadway shows for free. Oh. And yeah, it's a good deal. In fact, today, when I'm working there, the musical 6 is coming in. We have Tina Turner coming, the Tina Turner musical in 2 weeks. So that'll be good to see. I'm grateful, in my life today. I'm grateful that I don't have to get up and wonder where am I going to get money today, and where am I going to get dope today, and who am I going to screw over, as it were, to make money. It's a pretty chill life now. I don't go to as many meetings as I did when I first got sober. When I first got sober, I went to at least one meeting a day. And now I have 2 meetings a week that I enjoy going to. So I'm kind of floating on all those years of daily meetings to keep me sober. I have police officers who are I'm friends with. I suppose I had police officers I was friends with when I was using, because it got to a point in Salt Lake where they'd see me and they knew me by name. And, when I was homeless, they'd harass me about being homeless. My addiction, while I was living on the streets, the way that I got by living in an unpredictable life like that was I tell myself I'm not that homeless. Obviously you're either homeless or you're not. I would see other homeless people and I'd think I'm not as homeless as that person. And I know today, we have a huge homeless population here in San Diego. And what I know about being homeless and people that are living on the street is that you're invisible. People don't look at you and people don't speak to you. And it was, it was weird. I mean, you could walk around, walk past, a couple of hundred people in a day, and not one person would acknowledge me or even say hi. I felt like I was invisible.
Well,
You know,
oh, sorry. We are 5 minutes, 6 minutes now over time. Do you have any last comments, questions, concerns? But thank you for sharing, Kip. As always, I learned a lot. But thank you for sharing. Again, just any last comments, questions before we end off?
um, no, just I'm just a grateful man. I'm just grateful. I'm grateful to everybody that's been a part of my life. That helped me walk in a silver pair of shoes. So that, no, I think that's it.
Okay. Thank you so much. Have a nice day.
Yeah.